Good day everyone. I am Nemain Batao together with the partner Zara Bagania. Our topic is the chapter 22, which is the exile in Dapitan.
Jose Rizal exile in Dapitan. Arrival in Manila. It was June 26, 1892 nang dumating si Rizal at Lucia sa Maynila. Lulan sila ng maliit na steamer na tinawag nilang Don Juan at doon nakilala nila ang platoon ng carabiners at ang kanilang commander. Sa habang ini-inspect ng carabiners ang luggage nila, may captain and sergeant of the Guardia Civil Veterana who are both in disguise at pinapanood ang proseso ng pag-inspect ng kanilang luggage. They were actually a spy from the Spanish governments. So afterwards, Rizal and Lucia were allowed to go at nag-sign in sila sa Oriente Hotel sa Binondo. Oriente Hotel is the best hotel in Manila during that time. And in the afternoon, at exactly 4 p.m., pumunta si Rizal sa Malacanang to pay a courtesy call on Governor Despojol, pero sinabihan siya na bumalik sa gabi. Kaya naman, at exactly 7 p.m., bumalik siya sa Malacanang at doon pa lang niya nakapanayam si Governor General Despojol. Accordingly, Governor Despojol was the one who granted liberty to his father but not of his brother and brother-in-law. So pagkatapos ng panayam nila, sinabihan si Rizal na bumalik later for another conference. So, galing sa Malacanang, pumunta si Rizal sa kanyang mga kapatid na si Narcisa and Saturnina upang bisitahin ang mga ito since nakatira ang mga ito sa Maynila. That same night, nakilala rin ni Rizal ang mga tanyag at kilalang bayani ng mga Filipino katulad nila Apolinario Mabini, Andres Bonifacio, Ambrosio Salvador, Timoteo Paez, Pedro Serrano Lactao at si Deodato Arellano. So, sa kanila, pinaliwanag niya ang layunin ng Liga Filipina which he proposed to establish. So, the founding of the Liga Filipina. So, nang mga sumunod na araw ay naging busy si Rizal, his presence in Manila had caused a great sensation among the Filipinos who were all eager to see him and talk with him habang ang mga Spaniards is nag-aalala at natatakot dahil sa popularity ni Rizal among the Filipino. So, kasamang ilang mga kaibigan, Rizal took the train at Tutuban Station, Manila to visit Malolos, now known as Bulacan, San Fernando, now known as Pampanga, Tarlac, now known as Tarlac, and Bacolor, known as Pampanga. So, sa lahat ng towns na binisita niya, he was welcomed warmly by his compatriots. So, sa kabilang dako naman, ang spiya ng government ay patuloy na binabantayan ang bawat kilos ni Rizal. Kaya naman, lahat ng tahanan na binisita niya ay siniyasat at ang mga Filipino na nakita kasama siya ay pinaghihinalaan din ng mga ito. So on the night of July 3, 1892, a week after his arrival from Hong Kong, is itinatag ni Rizal ang Liga Filipina sa tahanan ni Doroteo Ong Hong Ko in Elias Street, Tondo, Maynila. At maraming patriots ang nagtipon upang masaksihan ang historic event na yun. So the officers of the Civic Association were elected under Rizal's supervisions. They were as follows: Ambrosio Salvador, the president; Agustin de la Rosa, the fiscal; Bonifacio Arevalo, treasurer; and Deodato Arellano, secretary, and at the same time the brother-in-law of Marcelo H. del Pilar. So, the aim of Liga Filipina, as written by Rizal in the Constitution, were: the first one is to unite the whole archipelago into one compact and homogeneous body. So, if you're going back in history, ang Pilipinas is not yet united. Kaya, we have so many different dialect at kaya nahirapan ang mga Pilipino na labanan ang mga mananakop ay dahil walang isang wika na magiging daan upang magkaunawaan ng mga Pilipino. Not until nung naging president si Manuel L. Quezon. So the second one is the mutual protection in every want and necessity. So I think Rizal aimed to have equality no matter what it is. Filipinos should be treated as equal to the Spaniards. Third one is the defense against all violence and injustice. So Rizal also aimed for justice since many of Filipinos were victims of the abuse and prejudice of the Spaniards, particularly the friars. So the fourth one is the encouragement of instruction, agriculture, and commerce. So Rizal wanted the Filipinos to engage in business and agriculture in order to progress. So the last one is the study and application of reforms. Dito perhaps Rizal wanted to change the pamamalakad ng mga Spaniards sa Pilipinas. Deportation to Dapitan. On July 7, 1892, Rizal was summoned to Malacanang by Governor Despojol because he wanted to ask Rizal if the latter still wanted to go back in Hong Kong. So Rizal replied in the affirmative, so he actually says yes. So pagkatapos nun is nagpakita si Governor Despojol ng ilang nailimbag na babasahin na di umano natagpuan sa loob ng punda ng una ni Lucia pagkarating nila galing Hong Kong. So ang mga supersibong babasahin ay pinamagatang Pobres Frailes o mga kawawang praile na isinulat ni Padre Jacinto at na-print ng Imprenta de los Amigos de Paez, Manila. Ang mga ito ay satiriko laban sa mga yayamang prailing Dominicong kumamkam ng yaman, kabaliktaran ng kanilang panata ng kahirapan. So, pinagbintangan si Rizal na siya daw ang sumulat ng anti-friar article, pero kahit itinanggi niya yun, inaresto at hinuli pa rin siya at ikinulong sa Fort Santiago ni Don Ramon Despojol, pamangkin at katulong ni Governor Despojol. Noong araw na din na yon ay nagbigay ng decree si Governor Despojol sa pag-deport ni Rizal sa island sa South. So this decree was also published by the Gaceta de Manila, a newspaper in Manila. So nakalagay sa decree na yon kung ano ang reasons sa pagpapatapon ni Rizal. The first decree is that he published a book and articles abroad kung saan nagpapakita ito ng pagiging disloyal sa Spain at pagiging anti-Catholic and anti-friar. So, ang halimbawa nun is yung No Limitang Here at Il Filibusterismo na novel ni Rizal. So, the second decree kasi, pagkalipas ng ilang oras, pagkatapos nila dumating sa Maynila, is nahanapan sila ng handbills na may title na Pobres Frailes. The third decree is that he dedicated his novel, The Il Fili, to the three traitors, which is Gomborza, Gomez, and Zamora. At nagsulat pa siya sa title page nito ng The only salvation for the Philippines was separation from the mother country. Meaning, para kay Rizal, the only way para masalba at mapalaya ang Pilipinas at ang mga Pilipino sa kapahamakan is kailangan mawala tayo sa kamay at pangangalaga ng Spain. So, the last decree is I think this is only based on Governor Despojol perception. So as we all know, Rizal did not wrote his novel to go against the Catholic faith because he himself is a Catholic believer and alam natin na he is against the friar, especially sa pagtrato nila sa mga Filipino. So on July 14, when Rizal was brought under heavy guard to the steamer Cebu, and at exactly 1 a.m., on July 15, umalis sila ng Maynila at naglayag sila papunta south through Mindoro and Panay. Nakarating sila sa Dapitan at 7 p.m. It was on July 17. It was Sunday. So the ship's skipper na si Captain Delgas ay iniwan si Rizal sa pangangalaga ni Captain Ricardo Carnicero, a politico-military governor of Dapitan. And on July 17, 1892, nagsimula ang buhay ni Rizal bilang isang exile sa Dapitan at nagtagal hanggang July 31, 1896. So it is a period of 4 years. So Rizal in Dapitan. So ang barko na nagdala kay Rizal sa Dapitan ay may dalang letter mula kay Father Pablo Pastel, Superior of the Jesuit Society in the Philippines. The letter is para kay Father Antonio Ubac, Jesuit Missionary of Dapitan. So sa letter, gi-inform ni Father Pastel si Antonio sa mga conditions na kailangan gawin ni Rizal sa kanyang pagtira sa Jesuit Mission House. So may tatlong condition. First, dapat uwiin ni Rizal ang kanyang mga maling ginawa regarding their religion at gumawa ng statements na pabor sa mga Spanish. Second, dapat magsimba siya at mag-confess tungkol sa kanyang past life. And the last one is that dapat magmula ng araw na yon, he must conduct himself in an exemplary manner as a Spanish subject and a man of religion. So sa mga condition na ito, walang sinang-ayunan si Rizal. dahil doon sa bahay ni Captain Carnicero siya tumira. So the relationship of Carnicero and Rizal were warm and friendly. So nabighani si Carnicero dahil sa magandang katangian at personality ni Rizal, and napag-alaman niya rin na hindi masamang tao si Rizal. So they became good friends, they ate together on the same table and had many friendly conversation. Dahil doon, binigyan ni Carnicero si Rizal ng freedom na pumunta kahit saan man ito naisin, pero kailangan ito mag-report kay Carnicero isang beses sa isang linggo. So sa part naman ni Rizal, hinangaan niya ang mabait at mapagbigay na Spanish captain at sumulat pa siya ng poem para dito. Ang title is A Poem a Don, Ricardo Carnicero. So, sinulat niya yun noong August 26, 1892 sa kaarawan ni Captain Carnicero. So, noong May 4, 1893, umalis si Captain Carnicero sa Dapitan at napalitan naman ni Captain Juan Setges, a more severe commandant. So, ayaw ni Captain Setges na manirahan kasama ang isang deportee, kaya naman pinatira niya si Rizal sa isang bahay na malapit sa kumandansya at sinabihan na mag-report sa kanya ng 3 beses sa isang araw. Pero pagkalipas lang ng isang linggo, nagbago ang pakitungo ng captain kay Rizal. So, nabighani din siya sa kagandahan ng personality ni Rizal. Kaya naman, katulad ng ginawa ng naunang captain, ay binigyan niya rin ng kalayaan si Dr. Rizal. Rizal and Pastel's debate on religion. So, habang nasa exile sa Dapitan, nagkaroon ng mahaba at matalinong debate si Father Pastel at Rizal tungkol sa religion. So, through correspondence sila nag-debate. So, nagsimula ang debate ng dalawa nang padalhan ni Father Pastel ng libro ni Sarda si Rizal na may kasama pang advice na nagsasabing dapat nang tigilan ni Rizal ang kanyang foolishness na ginagawa with concern to their religion. So, this interesting religious debate is mababasa sa 4 letters na isinulat ni Rizal. Ito yung mga date ng kanyang sulat. September 1, 1892, November 11, 1892, and January 3, 1893. So, April 4, 1893, and Father Pastel replies dated on October 12, 1892, and so on and so forth. So, sa lahat ng sulat ni Rizal kay Father Pastel, nireveal niya ang kanyang anti-Catholic ideas na nakuha niya sa pagsali sa Masonry at nasuklam siya sa pag-uusig ng mga masasamang friars. It is understandable kung bakit nasusuklam si Rizal sa mga masasamang friars na ginagamit ang kanilang religion para mang-abuso. So, katulad ng sulat niya kay Blumentritt mula sa Paris na noong January 20, 1890, sinabi niya kay Blumentritt na gusto niyang hampasin ang mga friars na ginagamit ang kanilang religion o hindi lang bilang panangga, kundi bilang sandata. Kaya naman, napilitin siyang atakihin ang kanilang false and superstitious religion para malabanan ang kanyang mga kaaway na nagtatago sa likod ng kanilang religions. So, ginawa ni Father Pastel ang kanyang makakaya para ibalik si Rizal sa Catholicism. Pero alam naman natin na wala naman dapat ibalik kasi in the first place, hindi naman humiwalay si Rizal sa Catholicism. So, nagtapos ang debate ng dalawang polemist, pero hindi alam kung sino nanalo. Pero hindi nakumbinsi ni Father Pastel si Rizal sa kanyang arguments. So, useful and peaceful life. So, sa Dapitan, makikita natin na naging kapuri-puri at mapayapa ang naging buhay ni Rizal. Kaya naman, bumisita ang ibang miyembro ng kanyang pamilya, katulad ng kanyang ina at ilang mga kapatid tulad ni Trinidad, Maria at Narcisa, kasama pang iba niyang mga pamangkin. So sa Dapitan, nagpatayo ng kanyang sariling bahay si Rizal at maliban pa doon, nagpatayo rin siya ng bahay na ginawa niyang paaralan at hospital. So lahat ng oras ni Rizal ay inilaan niya sa mga bagay na may katuturan, katulad ng panggagamot niya, pagtuturo, pagsasaka, maging sa pagiging businessman, pagpapaayos ng waterworks ng Dapitan at ng kanilang plaza at marami pang iba. So, sa isang sulat ni Rizal kay Blumentritt, describe niya ang kanyang naging buhay sa Dapitan. So, sa sulat niya, nabanggit niya ang kanyang 3 bahay, isang square, hexagonal, at octagonal. Lahat ng ito is made of bamboo wood, and nipa. So, sa square niya na bahay, doon siya nakatira kasamang ina at kapatid niya. Sa octagonal naman ay nakatira ang kanyang mga estudyante, and at the same time, doon din ang paaralan nila. Sa hexagonal naman, nakatira ang kanyang mga alagang chicken. Rizal as physician in Dapitan. So, Rizal practiced medicine in Dapitan. So, marami siyang patient, pero karamihan sa mga ito is may hirap. So, madalas, binibigyan na lamang niya ng libreng gamot ang mga ito. So, nabanggit niya yon sa isang sulat niya sa kanyang kaibigan sa Hong Kong na si Dr. Marquez. Pero minsan naman ay meron din siyang mayayaman na patients na minsan ay sobra ang ibinabayad para sa kanyang serbisyo. So, on August 1893, dumating sa Dapitan ang ina ni Rizal kasamang kanyang kapatid na si Maria at doon tumira sila ng 1 taon at kalahati. At sa pangatlong pagkakataon ay inoperahan ni Rizal ang mata ng kanyang ina at naging matagumpay naman ang operasyon. Ang naging problema lang is hindi sinunod ni Doña Teodora ang instruction ni Rizal na huwag tanggalin ang bandage sa kanyang mata kasi maaaring ma-infect yung sugat. Kaya nasabi ni Rizal sa kanyang brother-in-law na si Hidalgo na naiintindihan niya na kung bakit ang isang physician ay hindi dapat gamutin ang miyembro ng kanyang pamilya. So, dahil sa galing ni Rizal sa kanyang field as an eye specialist, ay nakilala siya sa iba't ibang lugar. So, marami siyang naging pasyente na nagmula sa iba't ibang parte ng Pilipinas, from Luzon, Bohol, Cebu, Panay, Negros, and Mindanao, at maging sa Hong Kong. So, isa sa mga naging pasyente niya ay si Don Ignacio Tumarong, isang mayamang Filipino. So, dahil sa husay ni Rizal bilang ophthalmologist, ay nakakitang muli si Don Ignacio. So, bilang pasasalamat ay binigyan niya si Rizal ng 3,000 pesos. Another patient is si Don Florencio Azcaraga, isang Englishman at mayamang hasyendero ng Aklan. At nagamot din ni Rizal ang kanyang sakit sa mata, kaya naman binigyan niya ng cargo ng asukal si Rizal bilang kabayaran. So, according to Dr. Bantog, isang physician at Rizalist, si Rizal bilang isang physician ay naging interesado sa local medicine and sa use ng medicinal plants. Kaya naman, pinag-aralan ni Rizal ang medicinal plant ng Pilipinas at prescribe niya ito sa mga may hirap niya na pasyente na hindi maka-afford ng imported medicine. Rizal as engineer. So, alam natin na si Rizal ay nakapagtapos ng pagiging expert surveyor sa Ateneo. So, sa Dapitan, na-apply niya ang knowledge niya sa pagiging surveyor by constructing the system of waterworks in Dapitan. So, sa ngayon, accordingly, ang mga modern engineers ay namangha kung paano ipatayo ni Rizal ang ganong sistema ng waterworks kayong wala siyang sapat na materyales at ang budget niya is very limited. So, kahit na walang tulong na natanggap si Rizal mula sa government, ay naging successful pa rin siya sa pagpapatayo ng water system ng Dapitan. So, Mr. H.F. Cameron, isang American engineer, ang pumuri sa achievement ni Rizal bilang isang engineer.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Zahra Abu Bakanian and I am the second reporter of the Rizal and Dapitan 1892 to 1896. Let's move forward to the next, which is the hymn to Dapitan. Rizal conducted his school at his home in Talisay near Dapitan, where he had a farm and hospital. So, in honor to Talisay, he wrote a poem entitled Hymno a Talisay, or Hymn to Talisay, for his pupils to sing. So, the next one is contributions to science. So, Rizal found Mindanao a rich virgin field for collecting specimen, which with his baruto or sailboat and confined by his pupils, he explored the jungles and caused seeking specimen of insect, bird, snakes, lizards, frogs, shells and plants. So he sent this specimen to the Museum of Europe. In payment for this valuable, the European scientists sent him scientific books and surgical instruments. So during his 4th-year exile in Dapitan, his result built up a rich collection of oncology, which consisted of 346 shells representing 203 species, and he also discovered some rare specimens which were named in honor by these scientists. So the first one is Draco rizali, a flying dragon. Second is Apogonai rizali, a small beetle, and Racopolus rizali, a rare frog. So the next is linguistic studies. So a born linguistic Rizal continued his studies of languages. So in Dapitan, he learned the Visayan, Subanyon, and Malay languages. So he knew 22 languages as follows: Tagalog, Ilocano, Bisaya, Subanyon, Spanish, Latin, Greek, English, French, German, Arabic, Malay, Hebrew, Sanskrit, Dutch, Catalan, Italian, Chinese, Japanese, Portuguese, Swedish, and Russian. Now, we will talk about the artistic work of Rizal in Dapitan. So, Rizal continued his artistic pursuit in Dapitan. So, he contributed his painting skills to the Sisters of Charity who were preparing the Sanctuary of the Holy Virgin in their private chapel. So, Rizal made a sketch of person and things that attracted him in Dapitan. And he drew, for instance, the 3 rarest species of animals alive, so the dragon, frog, and the beetle, which he had discovered. So he had sketched of the numerous fishes he caught in the Dapitan Router. So, one day in 1894, some of his pupils secretly went to the Dapitan in a boat from Talisay. So, a puppy of Sirin or resource dog tried to follow and was devoured by a crocodile. So, to stress the moral of the incident, he modeled as a statue representing the mother dog, killing the crocodile by way of avenging her lost puppy, and call it the mother revenge. And other sculpture work of Rizal in Dapitan were a bust of Father Guereco, one of his Ateneo professors, a statue of a girl built the Dapitan girl, a wood carving of Josephine Birken, his wife, and the bust of Saint Paul he gave to Father Pastor. So, the next one is Rizal as a farmer. So, in Dapitan, Rizal devoted much of his time to agriculture. So, he bought 16 hectares of land in Talisay, where he built his home, school, and hospital, and planted cacao, sugar, coffee, sugarcane, coconut, and fruit trees. So, later, he acquired more lands until his total holdings reached 70 hectares, containing 600 hemp plants, 1,000 coconut trees, and numerous fruit trees, sugarcane, corn, coffee, and cacao. So, Rizal also introduced a modern method of agriculture where he had observed in Europe and America, and he also encouraged the Dapitan farmers to discard their primitive systems of Tilger and adopt the modern agriculture. So agricultural methods, and he imported agricultural machinery from the United States. So he also wanted to establish a new Calamba, but he could not get the support of the government. So next, let's talk about the Rizal as a businessman. So aside from farming, Rizal engaged in business and in partnership with Ramon Carrion and the Peter Merchant. So he made a profitable business, venturing fishing, copra, and hemp industry. So he invited his relatives, particularly Satornia and Hidalgo, to come to Mindanao, for there is a vast and ample field for business in the island. So he particularly told Saturnia that in Dapitan she could profitably engage in textile, jewelry, and hemp business. So he wrote to Hidalgo dated January 19, 1893 that he expressed his plan to improve the fishing industry of Dapitan. So he want Hidalgo to send him to good Calamba fishermen who could teach the Dapitan folk better methods of fishing. So Rizal organized on January 1895 the Cooperative Association of Dapitan Farmers. So according to its constitution, which he had drafted, its purposes were to improve the farm products, obtain better outlet from for them, collect funds for their purchase, and help the producers and workers by establishing a store wherein they can buy prime commodities to moderate prices. So next, Rizal inventive ability. So one little known fact about Rizal was that he was also an inventor. He could be remembered that in 1887, while practicing medicine in Calamba, he invented a cigarette lighter which he sent as a gift to Blumentritt. He called it Sulpukan. This unique cigarette lighter was made of wood. Its mechanism, said Rizal, is based on the principles of compressed air. So during his exile in Dapitan, he invented a machine for making bricks. This machine could manufacture about 6,000 bricks daily. So the next one is the My Retreat. So in February 1895, Doña Teodora, with her eyesight fully restored, returned to Manila. During her long stay in Dapitan, she saw how busy her talented son was and regretted that he had neglected the muses. She requested him to write poetry again. So in response to her request, Rizal wrote a beautiful poem about his senior's life as an exile in Dapitan and sent it to her on October 22, 1895. So this poem was May Retiro or My Retreat, so which is acclaimed by literary critics as one of the best ever penned by Rizal. So the next is Rizal and Josephine Birkin. So Rizal felt lonely in Dapitan, so he needed somebody to cheer him up. So in God's own time, this somebody came to Dapitan, and she was Josephine Birkin, an Irish girl. So Rizal and Josephine fell in love with each other at first sight. So after a real wild romance of 1 month, they agreed to marry, but Father Obak, the priest of Dapitan, refused to marry them without the permission of the Bishop of Cebu. So when Mr. Toffer adopted Josephine, and he is also blind, when Mr. Toffer heard of their project marriage, he fluttered up in a violent rage. So he tried to commit suicide by cutting off his throat with a razor. So Rizal, however, grabbed his wrist and prevent him from killing himself. So Rizal and Josephine lived happily in Dapitan at one time. Rizal wrote a poem for Josephine entitled Josephine, Josephine. So Rizal was extremely happy because Josephine was expecting a baby, but unfortunately, he played a prank on her, fighting her so that she prematurely gave birth to an 8 months baby boy. So, who lived for only 3 hours. So, this lost son of Rizal was named Francisco in honor of Don Francisco, the hero's father, and was buried in Dapitan. So now let's talk about the Rizal and Katipunan. So there was a secret revolutionary society called Katipunan, which he founded on July 7, 1892 in a secret meeting of Katipunan at a little river called Pitukang Manok near the town of Pasig on May 2, 1896. So, Pio Valenzuela was named emissary to Dapitan. So, in order to inform Rizal of the plan of the Katipunan to launch a revolution for freedom's sake, so Rizal objected to Bonifacius Audacious project to plunge the country in blood revolution. So, he was of the sincere belief that it was premature for 2 reasons. The first one is the people are not ready for a revolution, and the second one is arms and funds must first collected before raising the cry of revolution. So, he also disapproved of the other plan of Katipunan to rescue him because he had given his word of honor to the Spanish authorities and he did not want to break it. So, the next is volunteers as military doctor in Cuba. So, many months before Katipunan contracted him, Rizal had offered his services as military doctor in Cuba, which was then in the theater of revolution and raging yellow fever epidemic. So there was a shortage of physicians to minister to the need of the Spanish troops and the Cuban people. So it was Blometer who told him of the deplorable health situation in Waridan, Cuba, and advised him to volunteer as army physician. There, so acting upon employment right advice, Rizal wrote the government General Ramon Blanco Despejelo, successor on December 17, 1895, offering his services as military doctor in Cuba. So the letter from Governor Blanco dated July 1, 1896 arrived in Dapitan, notifying him to acceptance of his offer. So the next is the Song of the Travelers. So great was Rizal's joy in receiving the grandson used from Malacanang. So it was his joyous thought of resuming his travels that he wrote his heartwarming poem El Canto del Vega, or the Song of the Travelers. So the last is Adios Dapitan. On July 31, 1896, a year Rizal 4 years exile in Dapitan came to an end. So, at midnight of the date, he embarked on board the steamer España. He was confined by Josephine Narcesa, Angelica Narcesa's daughter, his 3 nephews, and 6 people. So, almost all the Pitans folks, young and old, were at the shore to bid him goodbye. So, as farewell music, the town brassman strangely played the Dolorous Funeral Mart of Chopin. So, when he could no longer see the dim shoreline, he suddenly went to his cabin and wrote his diary. I have in that district 4 years, 13 days, and a few hours. So,